Hello, and welcome back to the JRB podcast with myself, Ryan Levine, joined here by Jeff Jones and Bohdan Temnick. It has been a while. I moved recently. I don't even remember if the last episode was before I moved. I think it just wasn't. I'm pretty sure it's been that long. Obviously, a lot of things have happened, and we are not going to talk about literally any of it this episode. We are pretty much only going to talk about the new announcement of Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis. So,
I mean, yeah, who cares about anything
yes,
else? But
if there are
Well, I
topics
mean,
that we missed, hold on.
eh,
If there is stuff that we missed that people do want us to cover, um, leave a comment about, there was like, why is this Vancouver? There was the ban list. We haven't even talked about Justice Hunters really at all, which is funny. I'm sure we will talk
we
about it
did talk about
because
Justice Hunters. We missed
they're.
end of match procedure and
Oh.
the YCS structure, and
Yeah.
then your pricing and the rest, but it's okay.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that. If there are topics that people want covered, they can leave a comment. And then if somebody said something in the comments that you want covered, upvote it or whatever. And then if there's enough people that actually care about these older things that we miss and you want our thoughts on it, then we will do it. But for now, the relevant topic is Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis. So for those of you that have been literally under a rock and have not heard the announcement of this, a couple days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, they announced a new alternate format where there are no link monsters or pendulum monsters, so those are all banned. And then cards have a point value assigned to them. And the tournament will have a point restriction. So the standard, like all the events at YCS's, the side events, which they've already announced a format for, so we'll talk about that as well. You will have 100 points to spend on your deck. And there is a list of, there are currently 505 cards that have a point cost ranging from 1 point all the way to 100 points. So yes, there are some cards that will just cost your entire point budget to use. And then there are some cards that basically just cost 1 point or like 3 to 5 points, pretty much just so you can't combo them with specific cards that cost 100 points. And I'm sure we'll get into that. And then every other card in the game, other than these 505, costs 0 points. So there's no ban list. There are no cards that are outright banned. There kind of are. We'll talk about it. Like there are some cards that just the point value of the only card you use them with don't equal 100. So in the standard tournaments, you just can't use them. But yeah. Crazy announcement. They also have a blog where they've been putting out articles. They have like 5 or 6 articles now talking about the design process and their design philosophy and stuff like that, which we'll also talk about a little bit. But first impressions, I guess let's start with Jeff first. What do you think about this? How does this make you feel?
how does it make you feel? Pretty excited. It's really weird because I have a YCS in a week and I'm supposed to be preparing for that, but every time I start, I keep finding myself drifting to trying to figure out a Genesis deck, and I have to stop myself and be like, no, I have to do this right now. And it's also really cool because at my store, where I am putting on like a Genesis event this weekend,
Mhm.
and it is already being very well received. We had people coming from like 2 hours away to come play. Um, and the way I'm doing it is because like we had to announce this like later into the week because that's when this was announced. Um, the Konami policy says that stores can put like any sort of point threshold for their tournaments. So I upped it to 120 so people could more easily build their decks because they have to build it so soon. And then once after like next week, we're just going to use the 100 point process. So
Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
a lot of people are just really excited. Yesterday was our regular local or Tuesday local, and basically everyone there who wanted to buy cards didn't want the new set. They wanted cards for Genesis because the new set was coming out. Yeah, this week. So
That's funny.
very cool.
Yeah. Bowden, how do you feel about this?
Yo, it's good. Like any alternative format is always good. People were happy when Master was released. People were happy when Edison and like the timers and stuff was popping back up. I think this is very refreshing, and the fact that they took this jump into competitive new format, which they sort of tried with Speed Duel, but Speed Duel had its own like problems, like internally, and just a bunch of red tape that I'm sure people have talked about before. But I think this is I'm pleased with it. This is like the concession for all of the stuff that we would talk about before, where it's like, you can't do this on the ban list. Like, oh, they probably won't do this on the ban list. And now it's like, no, you can just put it in Genesys format and make the card worth 100, and that fixes it inherently, right? That's refreshing. I like it. I'm very happy with it. I also like the public reception to it has been really good. Like, Dueling Book's already updated. There's a bunch of third-party websites, Discord, stuff like that. People trying to get in on like the ground level.
Wait, Dueling
And I
Book
think
is
that's
updated?
because sorry,
Yes.
Dueling
Yes.
Book has rated for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
when I go into deck building, will it give me like all the points and stuff?
Yeah,
I
it
think
does.
so.
They updated it yesterday. You can see all the point values and everything else, and you can turn it on and off depending on what format you're playing. So you don't always have
Oh.
to see the point value. Yeah.
Okay, well, okay.
And I I could be wrong, and it could be someone using an extension, but there is Genesys rated. So that's, again, like, I could also have been lied to. I did see a section, like a screenshot of my friend playing, and there was Genesys on the splash page, like the first thing where you navigate through everything. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's good as well. Yeah, like, I'm glad. There's gonna be doomers. People are gonna complain. People are gonna be like, "Oh, this killed Time Wizard," but Time Wizard is his own issue. And I think, like, making Yu-Gi-Oh refreshing is always good. I do want to see the long-term effects of this format. I want to see if it survives, and I also want to see if it affects like current, like advanced constructed, because I think that is like another sort of thing we have to navigate, right? Where it's like, you want to give enough exposure to both formats and keep them both playable, but it's like, okay, is more input going into Genesys format because you're going to get more data, you're going to be able to use it and update it a lot quicker, or is it going to go, back to advanced still? Like, obviously, I don't expect Genesys to be something at Worlds. Who's to say it isn't? Because they had a Rush Duel like World Championship finals multiple years, not in any of the TCG years, but like the Japanese year, they had Korea versus Japan finals or something when we were there. So who's to say like the next TCG World Championship doesn't have like a Genesys finals or something crazy like that? Could be something in the works. So I'm
Yeah.
excited.
I mean,
happy
it would
for
probably just be like at nationals, right? Because
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me. But like, maybe they do showcase it, like, because again, like, Rush Duel was in that market. Genesys is in this market. Obviously, Speed Duel sort of shit the bed inherently. So can't really do much with that. But yeah, I mean, it's cool, dude. Like, anything to make Yu-Gi-Oh fresh and fun, and also sort of just like remove the issue that we had before, where it's like all deck building just sort of came out of the box, right? You just had to change your non-engine, and that was like, 30 cards is already decided for you, and here's this, like, group of like, 20 cards that you can pick from to stick to, the 40 to 45 card range, or you have people going to 50 cards, just some dumb number, and it's just all pick and play. So I think it's really, really cool that they sort of did this, and like, they've already, been really transparent about it, compared to just anything else in Yu-Gi-Oh, where you don't really hear any input about like the design process, or like how they've sort of, the inner workings of why this is happening, or like why X, Y, and Z is happening.
Yeah. So I want to real
Speaking
quick
of,
touch
like,
on the. So go ahead.
I was saying, speaking of like doing a like kind of like a national championship tournament or like a world tournament for it, makes me think that now, since they announced there's going to be a full-on YCS, that they could do something like they did with the UDS, where they have its own category, and then when you do well at UDSs or events, you get points, and then you can like use the points to get like an invitational. But instead, it's just like everyone who does well at these events. Like, if before with UDS, they held like two. It was like every season there was like one in the summer and like one in the winter, I think, right?
Yeah, one in NA, and then there was also one in LATAM each season as well, right?
Right.
So there were
So
four
like
total each
they
season, I
could like
think.
do something similar where like, oh, here's like a fall one and like a spring one, or a fall and a summer, whatever it is, like they can hold like two at a time or something. And they could also do it in Europe now,
Yeah.
and then maybe have like a big thing at the end. And then it would, before, like the problem with like the UDS was it was points based, right? So you could only enter into a UDS by having these points that you gathered from doing well at events. And so
Or judging.
it was
And
kind
judging.
of
Yep. Well, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go, Ryan. All right, we're on the same page.
and it put some people out. With this though, everyone could just go, and
Yeah.
you instead
Yeah.
of getting like, you know what?
Well,
'Cause,
that was
you
a big thing for me as well, where it's like I got to play, I think, one UDS, and that was after a YCS win and a World's top 8.
Oh yeah, because the UDS gave you, because you got UDS points for playing Worlds. So
Yeah.
even if you were in EU or OCE, which didn't give points, because you had a separate system, you had the LLDS. If anybody even remembers those, and I barely even remember how that worked because that was not in NA. Those were different
regionals.
Yes,
pretty much.
and those were different points, and those didn't carry over for UDS. So when you qualified for Worlds, even though you were in the EU umbrella, right, you still got UDS points, and that's why also like there were some Japanese players that had UDS points because when they qualified for Worlds, they were just on the UDS point leaderboard, which is funny. And then as well, you won YCS Toronto that season, right? So you got points for that as well, which is also very funny that like you just that one just gave you points. But yeah, as far as the tournament structure goes, they already announced their short-term tournament structure plans. So I'm going to just go over that real quick, and then I have some ideas of I think how they can expand it or what would be interesting for expansion. So what they said is there will be side events at all of the YCSs, or the next like they announced for sure the next like 4. So for YCS Anaheim and YCS Pittsburgh coming up in North America, and then I think they also said not this YCS Lille is this weekend.
It's both the European YCSs and none of the Latin American ones.
Yes, so the YCS this weekend will not have a Genesys format event. I don't think. I'm pretty sure that wasn't.
It will.
Oh, it will? Okay, well, even better.
Lille and Bologna, yeah.
Even better, yeah. So on Saturday, there will be, it seemed like from the article, there'll be on-demand 16-man pods. I don't know how many there will be, if they are putting a limit to them, but there will be 16-man pods, and first and second will qualify for a Sunday tournament, which will be all of the finalists from the Saturday pods will play essentially a main event on Sunday. And that will be a single elim, like a larger single elim, similar to how the giant cards are, which from what it sounds like, hopefully they will be keeping track of how many Saturday pods they'll be running, and they'll run like 64 of them or 128 of them.
Well, so they could also run like Sunday pods as well, right? Well, if they're only 16-person events, you could run a couple in the morning.
Well, it's said. Well, you could, but they're not. It's according to the thing that they're not doing it. So you could do that, okay, but according to the article, that's not the case.
They're all Saturday, huh?
Yeah, that's what it said. That's what it said. So yes,
for the qualifier, Sundays they will be holding other side events, but it will not qualify you for the Sunday.
Yeah. So if you make the finals, you get a new playmat. They haven't said what it will be, but they did say it is the old field layout with no extra monster zones because that is how Genesys is played as well. And as I said, you get a qualification for the Sunday tournament, and then the winner, it said they get a Starlight Rare from a briefcase of Starlight Rares they'll be bringing to the event, and they had, and I quote, from prior booster sets. Now,
but you just get one Starlight Rare?
That's what it said. No, if you win the 16-man pod. If you win the 16-man pod.
On Saturday.
On Saturday, yes. Yes. If you win the 16-man pod on Saturday, you get only one Starlight Rare. Yes. If you go 4-0, then you get a Starlight Rare. However, prior booster sets could mean literally anything. So I doubt you'll be able to pick Appaloosa or IP, or DD Crow or Ecclesia or like the older ones. But
we just joke that they'll bring like the entire Mega Pack Starlight.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they bring the Mega Pack ones, that's very funny. I imagine they will just bring the Starlights from the new set, like from the post quarter century rare sets. I imagine. And even then, if you can pick, a Holly Sue or one of the Sky Striker links, like that's fantastic. Obviously, maybe those won't be in there, or if they are in there, I'm sure they're not bringing 300 copies of these cards. And maybe if you win like the literal first one, then you can get the Sky Striker link Starlight, maybe. But that's interesting. And then the Sunday tournament. That is essentially a giant card tournament. The winner gets a Pot of Greed giant card and an SJC prize card Dark End, and then top four get, I think it said the oversized card. I guess we call them the medium cards, but they're still pretty big, right? The smaller giant card. So the pricing is very good for what this is, and it's very interesting. And then they did announce in 2026 there will be a YCS where the main event is Genesys format. So, a couple things.
Funny story. I remember this vividly. They might have accidentally already given out the Pot of Greed, or they were going to give it out. They had it at an event and they advertised it, and then they removed it. It's one of the two. That's fun tidbit for those players.
Okay, yeah, because I felt like the Pot of Greed was already given away.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, they are making more of them, clearly.
Nats, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
but they're clearly making more of them. But yes, it might have been for the Time Wizard. I don't remember. I know that the Existon that was advertised for the NAWCQ was never actually given away. It was changed to a different card.
I think that one was a Pot of Greed, right? Instead.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know that at the WCQ, they announced beforehand there was for the giant cards, there was one was March Hare, one was a evil twin monster, and I remember those two specifically because I really wanted the March Hare, and then when I got there, they didn't have any of them, and I was told they got lost when shipped.
I was gonna say, so, I imagine there must have been. Yeah, I'm pretty sure because a lot of people ask where the advertised giant cards, and I'm pretty sure the answer given was just something went wrong in shipping and they just didn't have them. So,
they're gonna give them away at a different time.
I saw Existon. Existon was a prize wall redemption giant card at Vancouver. I saw it at Vancouver, and it was specifically a prize wall ticket redemption one because the winner of the giant card events were not allowed to pick it. You could only get it if you were redeeming your prize wall tickets that you had stored up. So they brought that one to Vancouver. I guess they found them. I didn't pay attention to see if I saw March Hare. I just know that Existon was one that I knew, was supposed to be the WCQ and it wasn't there. So when I saw it, I made a mental note. But
right.
Yeah. So a couple things. One, my thoughts on this overall are I think this is finally an alternative Yu-Gi-Oh format. I guess Time Wizard's sort of an alt format, but it's not quite an alt format because it's just the actual format that was played before. It's just the advanced constructed format of a different year. It's not an actual alternative format in that sense. This is finally an alternate format for Yu-Gi-Oh! That people care about, that anyone has spent even 1 second thinking about. And that is fascinating. That is huge. I think giving Yu-Gi-Oh! With modern cards a way to play the game outside of advanced constructed is something that has been holding Yu-Gi-Oh! Back for a long time, in my opinion, when compared to other games. And it is even just the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have a standard format rotation, so you don't get the freebie of standard format and expanded format, where standard format and, Magic has so many different formats now. It has Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Vintage, Legacy, which just all have different cutoffs of what cards you're allowed to use. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Has never really had anything like that. It's had Traditional technically, but Traditional is a literally unplayable format. Literally unplayable. It's just nothing. So this is finally a format that allows for something different. And I do not know if Magic still runs tournaments like this, because I know recently they've done, in the last couple of years, there have been huge restructures of how they run their tournaments or whatever. But it used to be they had tournaments where different rounds of Swiss were actually in different formats. So you would have some rounds of Swiss in Modern, some rounds of Swiss in Legacy, right? Stuff like that. I think, especially now that we're adding more rounds of Swiss to the tournament structures, and their YCSs are going to be between 13 and 15 rounds of Swiss. I think conceivably you could have constructed advanced constructed for 8 rounds of Swiss, or even 10 rounds, and then 3 or 4 rounds of Swiss of Genesys format. Honestly, I think that would be something, and it would have to obviously be announced ahead of time. We've seen things like this happen in the past. It was actually in the reverse order, huh? Yeah, the battle pack.
I was about to mention that. Yeah.
So we've had Top Cut be battle pack draft. For those of you that do not remember this, for a 3-year. That's
not what I was going to say.
So I know what you're going to say after that. So first, I'm going to say the battle pack draft. Top 16 used to be battle pack draft. There was a 3-year period.
It was a year.
No, it was 2013 through 2015. It was 2.5 years. Yeah, it was. Wasn't it? Maybe it was a year and a half.
2014.
I think it was 2 years because it used Battle Pack 2 and Battle Pack 3 at different points.
It would have been 2014, 2015, right? Because they stopped it at Toronto after Nats, right?
Yeah. So
and
there was
that weird Columbus without Battle Pack draft.
Yes. So there was however many years it was where top 16 was Battle Pack draft. In addition to that, when Battle Pack 1 came out, they had a Battle Pack sealed YCS, which Jeff probably will know the specifics better than me, where they had first 2 of them. Day 1 of Swiss was Battle Pack draft, or Battle Pack sealed, and then day 2 was advanced constructed, and then Top Cut was advanced constructed. So they could do something similar. They could do, which I think that actually makes more sense, tournament flow-wise, than I said initially, you do constructed, then do Genesys. I think probably more likely you do day 1 Genesys and then day 2 constructed, right? And then Top Cut would be constructed.
I think it should be. I think day 1 period should be constructed, or should be your regular deck, and then day 2, which is the last. If you do, what do they say? If it's 13 rounds, it's 9 rounds day 1 and 4 rounds day 2.
Yeah.
And then you play. So you play 9 rounds of Swiss with your one deck, 4 rounds of Swiss with the Genesys deck, and then Top Cut would be constructed again.
Okay, well, sure.
Because I also feel like that's much easier to manage when you have to deck check people for points, because then you're only doing the people who are actually playing in day 2, right?
Sure. Okay, sure. So yes, I agree with that. However, there will be allegedly a main event of Genesys the whole time. So that's gonna be a problem with that checking anyway. But yes, I do agree with you. So
you remedy it with electronic submission.
Yes.
Being we'll aware, right?
We'll get to that too.
It's no different to anyone having an illegal deck in current.
Correct. Yeah. Yes, I agree. Yes, electronic submission would, because hopefully with electronic submission, you just know their deck list is legal. And then you just compare it to the deck list, right? So it shouldn't be any different. But yeah. So that's kind of my thought, is I would like to see, now that allegedly, again, it has not even been 1 week. We don't know how long this format will last. We don't know how well received this format will be once people actually start playing it. But the sentiment seems to be people are excited about this, and I don't blame them. It is because I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been starved for an alternate format for so long. So now, we talked about the tournament structure, we talked about the basic thing. I think I would like to, unless you guys have other things you want to talk about this before we move on, I want to get into the nitty-gritty of the game balance, I think. And, the point totals and what I would like to see done about it. And again, this is very new, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time on it, but I think I have some thoughts about this.
All right. So before we do that, something I wanted to mention was, I also think it's interesting how, if we look over the past couple months, or let's say maybe the last 6 months or so, when they've been releasing certain booster packs, certain cards were reprinted that we were all like, what the fuck? Why is this in here? None of the old formats even play this card. or no one plays the old formats where this card was legal now make much more sense that those cards were reprinted.
Yes, I agree. So with some exceptions, but yes, I do agree with you that now any banned card that has been reprinted, I mean, the reason some of them were reprinted in the rarity collections with the nostalgia pool, I think were kind of acceptable anyway. But yes, I do agree with you that like the I didn't have a problem with any of the cards in rarity collections. The one I had a problem with, and I'm even gonna say, even knowing about this format, I still have a problem with some of them. Was like Chaos Ruler being a secret rare in the tins, even with this format existing, and now, haha, you can play Chaos Ruler. I still don't like the fact that card was reprinted in the tins. And specifically, I don't like the fact that it was reprinted in the Prismatic Secret Rare slot. Because
that is the only problem I have with it.
Even with this announcement, Chaos Ruler is bulk. It is literal bulk. And the argument that people will be clamoring for Chaos Ruler once Genesys format starts, I don't agree with it. And if they had reprinted, so like for the stuff like Pot of Greed and like the ban cards, I don't really have a problem with them putting it. I mean, they put most of them. Like Meta was an ultra rare in the tins, right? I think so. I'm pretty sure. I think Pot of Greed was a secret rare, and the rest were ultra. Or Pot of Greed was a Starlight. I don't know what I'm saying. And the rest were, I think, ultra rares. I would have no problem with the reprints for this alternative format being in the low rarity slots. If they made Chaos Ruler a common in the tins, for the like, because I'm pretty sure Denglong is a common in the tins. If they made them a common, I'd be like, oh, that's fine. I get it. People might try to play that in this format. Like, that's fine. I mean, Denglong's not banned in regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore anyway, but like, no one's playing it, right? And in this format, maybe Denglong can do something, and maybe it would be... Actually, there are no pendulums. You can't use most of the Zephyr stuff. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Regardless, yeah, I still, don't think that the secret rare slot should have been the secret rare slot, which is where most of your value from the tins this year comes from. Like all the, most of the sought after cards, like the Dominus cards, the Fiendsmith stuff, and the Molcharmies are in that slot. And there's like 100 secret rares, and just bloating it out even more with something like Chaos Ruler. Like if you buy a tin for $20 and you open one of your 3 packs and you get a Chaos Ruler, you're not happy about it, right? Like you're not. And it's like, you wanted cards from this year. So I don't like the fact that it was in the secret rare slot. Sorry, that was a lot of time to spend on that tangent. But yeah, I do agree with you that a lot of the... Sorry, I just got really mad when, someone told me Chaos Ruler was a secret in the tins. I was like, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, so... Yeah. I think reprinting some of these makes sense, though.
Something else that we've complained about before are OTS packs, because now it would make more sense to reprint some of these older cards in an OTS pack.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
And then also, they could just create a new OTS pack like they did for Speed Duel, where they had Speed Duel OTS packs. They could do Genesis OTS packs, and I think that would be really cool too, if they had like a Genesis stamp on them or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome, for sure, yeah. Which now we've seen them be more liberal with the stamps on cards. Like, I guess, they bought the machine to put the QCR stamp on the card. So now that there are no more QCRs, the printers clearly have the technology to do the stamps. We had the emblazoned Worlds cards this year. Yeah, I don't see any reason why we couldn't have, because they have a nice Genesis logo. If you go to the website at the top of the page, it's a nice logo. Yeah, I would be all for having a new sort of tournament pack for Genesis with the stamp, or even if it can't be emblazoned on the card, if they have them like the YCS prize cards now, right? Where in like the bottom right of the art box, there's the YCS logo, like the Gale and the Pot of Desires and stuff like that. So I would also not mind something like that. But yeah, so I guess we should just talk about now, unless Bohdan, do you have any more follow up on this, or do you want to talk about like the actual cards and the point values?
I mean, like, it's hard to keep people engaged with product,
Mhm.
and I think having alternate formats definitely encourages it. My issue is still gonna be there's this weird like product fatigue with modern Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know how you solve it necessarily, but yeah, making like products unique to Genesis format would probably be the first start, right? Even just like a rarity collection that would just make up the rest of the cards on the point list from the forbidden list or something, like that would be ideal, right? That's probably the next logical step. I, I'm gonna wait and see. I don't really want to comment on it because I
Mhm.
feel like some of it won't happen. But I'm hopeful. You make Yu-Gi-Oh product worth something again. Make it worth cracking. That'd be great.
Make it like, so you say make it worth cracking. I think it's like we've reached
Yeah.
a point now where Pokemon is popping off. It is booming more even than it was during the pandemic when every card
Mm.
shot up. Like people, like Pokemon product is in such high demand right now, and Yu-Gi-Oh is not having a similar effect because the modern Yu-Gi-Oh cards just don't have the appeal to the casual player and the collector that Pokemon does. They can make 17 Charizards in a year, and every single one will have people who want them. We saw something kind of like this when they made the Chibi cards, and we see the Starlight Chibi Blue Eyes from Battles of Legend is actually worth a lot. It is a card that was very popular with casual players and collectors, right? Like it was a card that people actually wanted who don't play Yu-Gi-Oh. Like it had value outside of its meta relevancy. Most cards for Yu-Gi-Oh, the value of it is dictated by the playability of the card. There just
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
really, there is not a modern collector market like One Piece or Pokemon are enjoying right now. And yeah, I just don't think there's a way to fix that. I think the way to make modern cards be worth something is, as you mentioned, to have alternative formats where you can actually play them. Because so many cards, if they come out of a modern set, if they are not a top 5 deck, they are worthless because there is nothing to do with
Oh,
them. You cannot do
it's
anything with
it's
them.
gonna be interesting though because I think what you'll have leading up to the YCS is this like big resurgence in people try. Obviously, the format will be more defined. There'll probably be point shifts and a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of other stuff. But I feel like let's say Anaheim, like you could probably use Anaheim as a litmus test because you're working Anaheim, right? You
Yeah.
can be like, okay, people are coming up and they're asking for like an Exo Sister core, just dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
Because again, Exo Sister is like low on the point scale, which we'll probably get into later. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
they're all zeros, and it's just an engine you can take, and you put non-engine with it, and you have a playable deck for Genesis. Like cool. Like same with Vanquish Soul. Haha, funny. Um, you could just do a bunch of silly stuff like that. But when that happens and there's demand for it, like you could just do the OCG method of like, oh, here's like another booster set, and we're just gonna put a bunch of cores and like a bunch of other stuff and some rarity bumps and all that stuff. I don't want to see more side sets or more like of these fake sets where you'll have like here's one oh we reprinted Leo, haha, cool. And oh, where's the other Heraldic Beast card? Oh, it's in the OTS pack, by the way.
Well,
And like
no,
I
they
get you
reprinted
can't.
everything but Leo, actually, if you remember.
Well, sorry, yeah, no, you know what I mean. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's even
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
But that that's
Yeah.
that's that's my issue, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna keep like doing it and staggering these like little reprints, it doesn't make sense and it's not conducive to the player base. And I'm not buying another set just to get a reprint card. I'm gonna wait because that card will be worth 35 cents.
Exactly. Yeah.
However, if you put it all in one set and I'm able to crack, and I crack like a box or a case or something dumb, and it's like, oh, I have this core for Genesis. Oh, I have these new cards for Modern. Like, oh, I have maybe some cool like old stuff that I think is fine. Like rarity collection esque, but you focus more on like what's happening in your Genesis game. Like you've already determined some of these decks don't need to have like any points like on them to make them playable because they're probably balanced enough. Like reprint them, keep them in circulation. People will access them. It'll be good,
Yeah.
and people will crack product that way. Good entry point, right?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to touch on the no points thing. So as far as the points, like the point leaderboard, I guess I'll call it the leaderboard for the points, of how many points each card costs. there are definitely some head scratchers on here, and we'll get to it. And
Hmm.
there are definitely some cards that I think should be on here that are not, and we'll get to it. And this is clearly a first pass at this format. And they've mentioned they will be adjusting, in some of the articles, they mentioned they will be adjusting the point totals. And I am optimistic they will adjust them frequently. If the points get updated with the same frequency as the actual advanced constructed forbidden and limited list, this format is unplayable, I think. I think the life of this format will be how quickly they can adjust the point values, or else this format will probably feel even more stale than current Yu-Gi-Oh, unfortunately. I think like the advertisement of there are no ban cards, you just need to pay the points for them. The 100 point cards are banned mostly, I would say. I think with extremely, extremely, extremely few exceptions, you are not putting a 100 point card in your deck. It's just not happening. It's just not viable competitively. And even
At
just
least none of these cards.
Yes. None
It would have to be
right.
something. I can't even think of a card actually that would have to be 100 points for me to play.
I think Beatrice is the only one on this list I could even consider playing at 100 points, because the rest of the BAs are 0, I think. Like, you could literally make a BA deck for 0, I think, and just put a Beatrice in it for 100 points. And I think what?
Sure.
No, and I'm not saying I would do that. I'm just saying that, like, if somebody who likes these decks, that's the one I think, like, you could sell that. Like, that could be a selling point to a player that has not played in a while, and they go, oh, well, I really liked playing Burning Abyss 10 years ago. And you go, oh, okay, well, here's a Burning Abyss deck, and then you put Beatrice in it. And, like, sorry, you gotta cut Terratop, but, here you go. And somebody could look at that and be like, oh, this is just like a worse version of a deck that I played a while ago. Huh?
You wouldn't be able to play Tour Guide either.
Sure, yes. So, like, maybe it's unplayable then. Anyways, but, like, stuff like that. For stuff like, let me find. I think, like, Shockmasters 1, maybe you would put 100 points for, I guess. But, like, for some of these cards, like Vanity's Fiend, like Skill Drain, right? These cards are just banned. You are not spending 100 points on these one-of floodgates.
Point card would have to be like an extra deck card.
You're just not doing it. The 100-point card would have to be your deck build-around card. And currently, I don't really see any build-arounds here. Like, True King of All Calamities. So I say, like, build-around as in, like, the Last Warrior from Another Planet is a build-around card, but I don't know how you're summoning it in a deck with 0 points, whatever. Like, you could play level 9 Turbo, and then all 100 points of your deck are on True King of All Calamities. That's maybe a thing. Obviously, you're not spending 100 points on Silva. That's just an archetype card when other cards in the archetype cost points. You're not spending 100 points on Sangan Summoning. That's an archetype card when other cards in the archetype cost points, right? Like, you're just not... These cards are essentially banned. You cannot play them. And
I think you can also get similar results just by making them, like, I don't think they would have to cost 100 points to make it basically unplayable. Like, I think Silva at 70 points still makes it basically unplayable.
Yes, I agree. And again, maybe we'll see adjustments on this. I hope we do. And I don't have a problem with floodgates being 100 points, but that's just banning them. And I think, like, it's kind of disingenuous to say, like, there are no ban cards, just some cards cost points, and the ban played on is 100 points, right? It's just like, what are we doing? Also, side note, and the ban played on is a really terrible floodgate, like, really bad. Definitely the worst floodgate on this list, and it costs 100 points, and I'm like, oh, I guess they're making all the floodgates cost 100 points. Macrocosmos is 0. Macrocosmos is 0 points.
I think Dimensional Fissure is...
Dimensional Fissure is also 0 points. So...
Hilarious.
What's... again, I don't want to be like overly
I mean, it
critical
makes sense
on.
that they would be 0 since, like,
Does it make sense?
Dimension Shifter. No, Dimension Shifter's 5. So,
Well, yes, that also.
those have to be 0.
Yeah, well, Kashira Arise Heart's 97, which also, what
Yeah.
were they cooking on that one? What 5 points were they spending on their Arise Heart decks that just put it over the top? That 97 was the number that they settled on. And similarly, Trap Dust Shoot being 94. I'd love to know what 7-point combo was breaking Trap Dust Shoot. But yeah, like I think a lot of the cards on this list, a lot, can be 0 points. Like so many of these cards, I think can be 0 points. Like, and it's fascinating to me the cards that made the cut to be like the 3-point cards, and then cards that are 0. Like it's crazy to me. Like I cannot believe Forbidden Lance costs 3 points. Like that's wild. Was that really that good in this format?
I mean, I think any of the forbidden cards that aren't droplet, I can't believe any of those are points.
Yeah. I think some of them, when I see like the low point cards, I think make a lot of sense. Like, I think all the dangers being between 3 and 5 and 7 make a lot of sense because those cards get really, really strong when you can just put 20 of them in your deck. And if you could just put 25 dangers in your deck for 0 points, I think that would be a problem maybe, right? And the fact that you have to make some concession of you can't play all of them makes sense. I think some of the more impactful traps like Solemn Strike and Solemn Warning and Solemn Judgment costing a couple points makes sense. Stuff like that. I guess if they want trap decks to be like sort of viable, but you can't just play all the really, really, really broken ones for free. And that makes sense. But yeah, I think most of the low point cards are pretty close to where they need to be or should be, and almost all of the 1-point cards are just 1 point, essentially to ban them from being used in a combo with
it's
another
very funny
card.
That 100 and 1 both basically make a card unplayable.
Yes, it is very funny. So, and again, I think that's fine to have two. I think having 2 cards in a degenerate combo, adding up to more than 100, essentially making that combo be banned, is fine. I think that is a good use of the point system. Like, we see on the one, although with some exceptions, there are like 15 rank up magic cards that all cost 1 point, which essentially means you just can't summon the Utopia S0 guy. Or like it's really, really difficult to summon the Utopia S0 guy. You need 3 rank 1s, I think, if you don't have a rank up magic. And it's just funny that like essentially by putting these 15 rank up cards at 1, you're like pretty close to banning Utopic S0. I guess technically you're not banning it because maybe you can summon it with 3 rank 1s. Well, the Numeron cards cost a lot of points. Like a bunch of the Numeron cards cost between 10 and 20, so you can't summon it that way either. Which, if they put like Numeron Calling as 1 point to make it so you couldn't play it with S0, I'd have been like, oh, that makes sense. But instead they made Numeron cost like 80 points or something to play it, which I guess is fine. But yeah, I think the cards to me that are like the biggest offenders of just, wow, these are unplayable, are the 15 to 20 point range, because a lot of archetypes randomly, like, why does Gladiator Beast have 3 20-point cards? Like how is Gladiator Beast
have none?
Yeah, Vanquish Soul has none. Yeah, Gladiator Beast 20 times better than Vanquish Soul confirmed. Gladiator Proving Ground 33 times better than Stake Your Soul. I guess.
So wild to me.
Yeah, like
I hate
so that's something that I guess like I hope after the first revision, like I hope the first revision of the points wall will eliminate the glaring problems, right? Like that's my goal. If the first, or that's my hope. If the first event, like this weekend or at Anaheim in 2 weeks, is just 20 Draco Tail decks, 20 Exosister decks, and 20 Vanquish Soul decks, I hope that will be addressed, right? Like,
I mean, I think Draco Tail is unplayable, but
really, Is it? Okay. I don't know. I saw they only had like 2 or 3 cards on the list, but maybe I just don't know how that deck works.
I mean, when you have to play like 3 of all of them, and then the
Sure.
deck's the biggest strength is like using hand traps and being able to add them back.
Oh, and all the hand traps are too expensive, so you can't. I see.
It's gonna
That
start
makes
adding
sense.
up, and you just like
For sure, yeah. Okay, sure. So if we just see all the 0-point engines just win, like we just see Exeter and Vanquish Soul, and I'm sure there are other 0-point engines like Invoked and Eldritch. Sorry, Bohdan. That might be popping up. Like,
I'll bite my tongue.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And then I definitely think a lot of cards on this list will see 0 play. So something that they mentioned, actually, the most recent article, I think this most recent one that they posted was about Pot of Greed and how Pot of Greed costs 30 points. And they even said it's probably not worth it to play 3 Pot of Greed in your deck at the cost of 90 points. It severely limits what deck you can play, because it basically means you cannot play any archetype that has any cards on the list at all, because you only have 10 points to work with. And it also essentially means you can't play any hand traps. And they said, if 30 is too many points and nobody plays Pot of Greed, it might go down in points. Like, it might go down to 20 or 10, it even said. Like, what is the number of points that Pot of Greed would have to be to see play in this format? And I think 30 is too many. I don't think Pot of Greed will be played at 30 unless you play 0-point archetype, which I think brings its own problems. I think a lot of these archetypes should not cost 0 points, because I think it defeats the entire point of the format if there are just a couple archetypes that are just God's chosen that cost 0. But we'll see. Another issue I think I have with it is the most recent set cards will just cost 0, which you can argue that's the case in Advanced Constructed anyway. The most recent set doesn't have cards on the ban list unless you're playing Master Duel. So a new deck will have the advantage of every card being at 3. But I think a new deck, every card being at 3 matters way less than every card costing 0 points in this format, in my opinion. And I think we'll see, if they're not on top of it, if they're not updating points on the release date of a new set, I unfortunately think every single time a new set comes out, if there is an even remotely playable deck, we'll just have a phase of the deck from the newest set is broken because it costs 0 points. And that's not going to be fun the 7th time it happens, right? Like, if they just never adjust how they're doing points and they never preemptively hit decks, the 7th time the newest set is just broken in Genesys format, and you, like, maybe it's how they sell product. You have to buy the deck from the newest set to win your Genesys pod this event.
Isn't that just what
happens? And then it gets banned. Yeah, maybe that is what happened in Modern, right? But now it's like it extends further than that. It's just like sure. Every single deck can just be bad, and then the new deck is broken just because it costs 0. So you have to get it, and then they ban it in the next event. Right?
To my issue with this as well, when it comes down to, like, if they're gonna update this as frequently as they claim, there is this like weird consumer issue, right? Where you purchase a deck and then they invalidate it almost instantly.
Yeah.
Which does happen with the Forbidden List, but like I feel like
Vanquish Soul.
Jarring.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, sure. Like, but I feel like it's more jarring in the point setup because, like, one, you don't really like know when it's gonna happen. I mean, you probably do. It's probably gonna be after every like invitational weekend or whatever it is, like every YCS, right?
They'll update. With the Forbidden List, we literally just like never know when.
No, that's what I mean. Like, okay, but what I want to look at is like when they're giving point values. I think you want to go back to what Jeff was saying of like you can just make it so you can still play the deck, but you can't use like certain combinations of cards, right? So you just price them out, and that keeps the deck still like at the middling level of power, and you don't actually like ruin anything for the end user. Like, your deck might be worse, but it's not unplayable, right? Because you're not having this like this power creep in between. So you got to keep like layers to it. I think if they just like come straight out and they're just like, okay, well, new set, nothing's hit, blah blah blah, and then like the next week, okay, everything's hit, by the way, like it's just going in the toilet. But I don't know like a good example to even put to it like right now. Like let's say like let's do like a hypothetical for VS now. If someone goes out and gets a Vanquish Soul deck for Genesys format, it's cheap enough, and then they just immediately go, okay, Razen's 100, it's at 1, like, oh sweet, like my deck is unplayable. Razen's 100, Stake Your Soul's 100. What do we do now?
Yeah.
But if you make like Stake Your Soul like 20s and you know what I mean? Like if you make
I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely.
Chunk.
Yes, which is my biggest problem with the list as it exists right now is like Tenpai. So again, I don't like Tenpai. I'm glad in a vacuum that Tenpai is not viable in this format, but it's hilarious. If you look at like the point values, there are like 6 Tenpai cards on here that are all between 50 and 100. It's hilarious. It's just like, okay, guys, like I don't think you needed to go that far. Like they really wanted to make sure, like who in internal testing just kept losing to Tenpai and just like, well, okay, you're gonna keep playing Tenpai. We're gonna make Sangan summoning 100 points. Okay, you're gonna keep playing Tenpai. We're gonna make
it's like
this guy 50
like
points.
Or something.
Yeah, it's like it really feels like every single time that like it looks like just somebody was just playing Tenpai and just kept winning, and every time they made a Tenpai card 100, they just took it out of their deck and just kept winning anyway, and eventually they're like, okay, this one's 100, this one's 60, this one's 50, this one's 50, you can't do anything. And I wonder how that'll, I wonder if there'll be other decks that are going to be like that, because like Mermail costs $1 million, Trailman's cost $1 million,
so I'm going to go as far
if you
to
keep
say
it in the family, it shouldn't be that expensive.
If there is an archetype on this list, it is almost surely unplayable.
Yes,
almost. I
yes.
I can't think of one by looking at this right now. I'm looking over it that, oh yeah, I would play this archetype. I actually just don't see anything on here.
I don't think K9 is that bad. Like I think that one is the more reasonable because Case of K9 is at 3. It's 0 points.
They get 3.
It's literally just a Zuna Lupus Ripper.
Yeah.
All it is.
Well, yeah, then you get 3 whatever Nori.
Of the new one, yes.
So, Noroi,
yeah.
And then you said.
Yeah. I think K9 is pretty. Yeah. Like Dark World's unplayable, Six Sam's unplayable, Glad Beast unplayable. Also hilarious that decks like Glad Beast and Ninja are even have points on here. That is just hilarious to me. That just like that like there's no shot that Ninja, that unchecked Ninja, is better than Exosister and Vanquish Soul and Eldritch and Invoked, and Madolche has no points on this list actually also. Madolche probably does crazy stuff.
I think it's all of the Diabellstar stuff basically is on here.
Yeah,
and
I also
this kind of goes into with talking about the article you were saying earlier, how I believe you told me they said in the internal testing everyone started out by just trying to play all engine decks and not playing any hand traps.
They just
right.
Yeah, that's the article that they posted today. Yeah, as they mentioned that.
And I think that was a lot of people's sentiments when we first saw this, right?
Yes.
And they went on to say that, well, in the long term, the people who did that did worse than the people who chose to play less engine and hand traps in their deck. And those people started to do better.
It's also because the hand traps cost half as much as the engine card, which I guess I'll get to that after you finish your thought. But
so if they have admitted that, it is very strange to me that so many of these cards are so much, because that means you just can't use these cards anyway in combination with hand traps. Why would you do that? Like, if you know that people are going to have to play the hand traps anyway, why are these cards so much when they
so you can't play them? because they tricked you, Jeff. This is the no ban list format where actually 500 cards are banned because they cost 20 points, so you can't play them.
Right. So I'm saying you can just get a very similar result by making like what are like all these like Diabell Star where see 20. Like if you wanted to play 3 Diabell Star, Wanted is on this too, right?
Yes, Wanted is 33 and Diabell Star is 20.
Right. You could get if this was, let's say Diabell Star was 10 and Wanted was 10. If you wanted to play 3 of each, that's still 60 points.
Yeah. Which is still probably not viable. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Even with a lower point number, it is still not viable to do this and still play the hand traps you need. So that's why like my problem with some of these being so high just doesn't make any sense when they've come out and said like, oh, you aren't going to play these cards because you need hand traps. Even if these cards were lower, you still could not functionally play them.
Yeah. Which I do want to talk about. My biggest so I mentioned that there were some head scratchers. The head scratchers are, to me, the Ninja cards, the 6 Sam cards, and the Glad Beast cards. Of just the cards that I guess I've never tested them, but I cannot fathom that 6 Samurai, that if you Gateway is 100 points. And you have 7 other 6 Sam cards that cost points. I can't fathom that banning Gateway. Essentially, if a card costs 100, as I said, it's essentially banned. I do not think there is a card here.
I think any over a certain point, it may be the 50ish range.
Yeah, sure.
Card basically is banned.
Sure. Yes. So that's, I guess, instead of explaining that every time, from now on, if I say it's banned, assume it means unviable because it just costs too many points. If Gateway is banned, I don't see how. Hold on, I'm gonna see exactly how many. Let's see, 6. There are. Let's see. It is. Asceticism is 10 points. Legendary Lord Xian is 10 points. Xian Smoke Signal is 33. Xian's Dojo is 10. It's
yeah.
Why are there 7 6 Samurai cards on here? What is happening, right? That's one where I'm just that one's crazy. I think it's crazy that is, you literally just can't play them together. And then we see something like Shadal. Winda is 60. Apcalone is 10. Schism is 10. Low key, 60 on a Winda might not even be that crazy. I cannot believe Winda is 60 and the unplayable floodgates are 100. That one is Kaliga. Invoked Kaliga is 91. And Winda is 60. I think you just play Invoked without Kaliga in your deck and then it's 0 points. And that's what you do, right? I don't think Kaliga is nearly as relevant as the other ones. Most of the time when you play Invoked, you play 1 or 0 of that card anyway. So I get it's a floodgate, and in this format maybe it would be too good. But I also feel like the monster floodgates like that in this format are probably worse than they would be in constructed, because you need you are just gonna have some random throwaway removal cards in your deck that cost 0 points, or at least that's the idea, right? That's the design philosophy. Is that
so? I think that it's funny you say that simply because a lot of the things that seem like random removal-ish cards
are on here. Yeah, Book of Moon's 7 points or 5. Yeah, Book of Moon is 7 points. Forbidden Chalice is 5 points. 5. Yeah, which yes, I do agree with that. Yeah, that is weird. I think it's interesting that Torrential is 0 when some other, not that I think Torrential should cost points, but I think when you compare it to some of the cards that do cost points, I think Torrential is 100 times better in these trap decks than a lot of the traps on here. So I think that's kind of interesting. Mirror Force is unplayable. It can do whatever. You can have that card be. Mirror Force can be negative 5 points, I guess. You can actually have a 105 point deck. Yeah.
Putting it in your deck.
Yeah. Like that's like I that one is pretty bad in this, but I think torrential
honestly,
is
I
pretty
think that
reasonable.
might be like a cool thing to do. Now that I'm saying it, not
you make a
joking.
negative point card.
If you play this card, you actually get bonus points because it's so bad.
That's cool. That's funny. Yeah, that would be. And not just like a vanilla brick, just like a really bad card. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm hoping that like the first revision will clean this up a bit. So many cards on here do not need to cost any points, and so many cards on here can cost fewer points.
I feel like it's more of a cop out when they say that this is 2 years in the making, and then we have the ninjas at 20 points and stuff like. It just
I can't imagine saying I worked on something for 2 years and this is the results. Like, I know we're trying to give a lot of props because this is like a good idea in like concept, but like this so much seems very not great.
Yes. In the micro, like the point values of how is Zeus 20 points and Fiber Jar 30? Like I think that might be my benchmark. Zeus is such an incredible card in a format, even in current format. It is such an incredible card in a allegedly slower, more like frenetic format where every card will probably matter a lot more because your deck is constrained. Zeus is an incredible card in a format like this. And it costs 20 points. And I think 20 points is an incredibly fair point cost for Zeus. That card is incredible. It's an extra deck card. It costs 1/5 of your point budget. And I think that's 20 points worth spending. Anything above Zeus's point value, I think might be too high. Unless you want it banned, unless you want a card not in the format, I truly think anything above Zeus, I just don't see it seeing any play.
I think like the extra deck monsters being like slightly more makes sense because of how accessible they are.
Yes.
But then like some of the main deck stuff, yeah. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the YCSS weekend, if they get a good number of people and they can get data, I wouldn't be surprised if for our YCS they don't do a small update. It doesn't have to be like a complete overhaul, but it could be like, oh, minus 10 points here, minus 10 points there, plus 10 points there.
They can maybe like if a deck on this list has like if 0 people enter with 6 samurai cards in their deck, surely you can take some of the cards off the list, or you can reduce the point value of some of them, right?
I mean, I don't know how many people do you think are going to play in that?
I think it'll be I think there'll be a lot. I think they'll get a couple hundred people. You don't think so?
I was going to say at least 100.
Yeah. I think they'll get a couple hundred people, honestly. I mean, like, I personally think this is a little bit even more accessible to casual players than Time Wizard, because you might actually just own these cards. Like, if you're a player who's been playing Yu-Gi-Oh, on and off for a couple years, you just might have some of these cards. I mean, maybe not, because so many of these cards are unplayable because they cost points and you can't actually use them. But, like, in theory, you might just have a pet deck that is 0.
Do you think that's why, like, Vanquish Soul is actually at 0?
I can't imagine. I hope not. Because if that's a reason, that's bad.
Hear me out. Look at the announcement, and then look at, like, there's a string of events going, like, this weekend, next weekend, repeater, whatever. I feel like it is more beneficial for them to have people playing their events, right? Like, with such a short period of time in between for, like, the deck building process, like acquiring cards, whatever. It's logical to have VS at 0 going into a YCS weekend when you announce the format all of, like 2 days ago or something. That is, I think that's reasonable.
So anyone that had a Vanquish Soul deck that is no longer going to play it for the main event is like
yeah,
maybe you get.
I suppose. Well, like you're keeping like some meta decks like
I hope that's
playable,
not the
playable.
case. So that's
Okay,
the yeah,
I'm gonna
but
say something. This is
uh-huh.
like tinfoil hat theory, but
Yeah.
I actually think it may be true. I think because our Forbidden List over hit Vanquish Soul, that is why it is not on this list initially.
What do you
In the same
mean?
essence, so you see a lot of these floodgates are 100. It's their way of banning it, even though they can't ban it on our Forbidden List for reasons. This is their way of saying, "Oh, maybe we overdone it. You can play your Vanquish Soul deck."
Mm-hmm.
I I hope not. I don't want the lists to influence
it's
each
either that
other.
or someone really liked Vanquish Soul and really fought to have it not on this list initially.
Like rocks, you can't even play. Well, I think it's more likely that the thought
I think
internally
it's the
was there's
onboarding
no.
experience.
Well, no,
I think it is the onboarding experience.
I think it's just probably when they were making this, I mean, I still think the most likely answer is Rock is banned and just no one tested it, which sounds crazy. But Holly Sue hasn't been out for very long. If they were testing this internally for 2 years, like they said in the article, it's probable that this points list. I mean, I guess it can't have been finalized too recently because Just cards are on here. But
looks like their cards newer than
yeah.
Sue on this.
So it's a good point. I don't know. Yeah.
So I really think it has to be something along the lines that I said. That
maybe, yeah.
They felt like maybe they overdid it because they aren't seeing a lot of Vanquish Soul results at regionals and stuff like that. And
yeah, because that deck sucks now. Sorry.
A lot of the feedback from players was I was very surprised at how they hit. I thought it was just going to be one or the other.
Oh, no. I mean, I was like, obviously,
oh, okay.
So we haven't, I guess I'll take a second to say that. So, like, we haven't recorded in a couple months. It's so funny. I literally think the last thing I said was, like, I can't wait to talk about Vanquish Soul when it comes out. And then we didn't record for 2.5 months, and Vanquish Soul is already banned. Like, which is crazy. But, yeah, like, obviously, I have not been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! As much as I used to, and I've been working, as some people know, like, enough people at the booth will talk to me about the podcasts when they come up and buy stuff. I've been working as a vendor for one of the vending booths the last couple events. I play probably one YTS a year now, maybe two. And I played Vancouver with Vanquish Soul, and I was thinking about playing Anaheim because I like the Vanquish Soul deck, and it just already got devastated. And I was like, well, that honestly killed all desire I had to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I was already kind of like not playing as much anymore, and I was just working the events, and the only deck I liked got destroyed in 2 months. And I think the reason it also bothered me a lot is over the last year, or over the last 3 years, decks just have not been hit for way too long. Like, so many decks just were the best deck or a top 3 deck for 10 months.
Yeah.
Fiendsmith was viable for it's still viable even. Like, Fiendsmith has been good for almost a year and a half now or something. And it just really, really tilted me when Vanquish Soul was pretty much killed. And I'm going to eat my words when somehow somebody does well with it, somehow. But it really put a bad taste in my mouth that the only deck I've enjoyed playing in literally the last 3 years got hit like that. And for the first time ever, my thought was I liked Vanquish Soul before Holly Sue came out. That was my funny pet deck that I played at locals, even this year, right? When it was a tier 4 unviable deck. I would sometimes just go to locals and just play with Vanquish Soul because it's the only deck that I still enjoyed playing. I can't even do that anymore. The deck previously that I enjoyed, also I can't even play. Because the cards they hit were Raisin and Stake Your Soul, not the new cards. And I understand why they did that and didn't hit the new cards. Well, not understand it, but I understand their justification for it. But yeah, it was like, it just felt bad for me. Like, again, the feelings I'm feeling now are the feelings I used to make fun of people for posting on Twitter when they were like, when an insane broken card would get banned, like, you know, Instant Fusion got like limited or something, and somebody who posts on Twitter, now my random unplayable tier 7 deck is bad because Instant Fusion is gone. It's like, okay, well, that's not real. Now that's how I feel. Is I'm like, well, now I can't even play the old Vanquish Soul deck because they hit the old card. So I don't really think I care enough to try to build Vanquish Soul in this format. I think I'd rather just explore the other possibilities. But yes, it really did turn me off of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For the foreseeable future with how quickly Vanquish Soul got hit and how they got hit more than every other deck. I think if they did like a soft reset of the format and they hit Dracotail and they hit Yummy, I would also like be fine, or be like, oh, they just really wanted these decks out of the format quickly. But Obedience Squid went to 1 and Herald went to 1. Oh well, who cares? Yummy's getting a broken card in the next set. Dracotail got 0 hits, and the Canine card coming out of the next set was a 1 of it the Vanquish Soul deck anyway. So, anyways, that was my Vanquish Soul tangent. But yeah, if that's the reason why Vanquish Soul was not hit in this format, then I disagree with that completely. Or if the reason they overhit Vanquish Soul on the advanced constructed list is because it will be good in Genesys, I also don't think that makes sense and should be a thing. I do not think they should be treated as like, I don't think they should be linked in any way. I think they should be completely separate. Yes, I think they should be completely separate because they are. Right? Like, that's the whole point. And even though Vanquish Soul was good in this deck, Rock of the Vanquish is one of my favorite, might be my favorite card in the Vanquish Soul deck. So playing Vanquish Soul without that card also barely feels like I'm playing Vanquish Soul anyway. So I don't know, man. Not a fan. But that was my soapbox to complain about the only little shard of casual enjoyment I still get from Yu-Gi-Oh! Being snuffed out. So, anyways, something I think is interesting about the point values as well, and I think this is a philosophy maybe taken from like Magic Commander format. A lot of the search cards are really overcosted, in my opinion, and not all of them. And it seems to be ones picked at random, but if a card is a normal spell that searches, it appears to cost 33 points. What do we think about that? Does that like, did they want less searching in the format? I don't think this is how you do. Like, a card like Gladiator Beast Proving Ground being 33 points is ludicrous to me. Yes. Like, actually ludicrous. And Incoming a Machine being 33 points. I didn't know what that card was. I had to ask you. You had to tell me an hour and a half ago. I said, what is this card? You know, I
think it's lazy. I genuinely think it's lazy.
Yes, that's because it's not all of them. And I think some of the ones that aren't on this list are some of the most glaring ones. So like, you can argue that some of the archetypes that have cards hit, like, there are a lot of hero cards on this list. Dark Law is 70. I think Stratos just 3. Yeah, Stratos is 3, which is funny. That is a searcher card that is 3. And then I think like DPE is 20 maybe, or Fusion Destiny costs something. Anyways, Emergency Call is not on this list. It costs 0 points. And that's a bit interesting to me. We have cards like Emergency being on this list at 33, and Sacred Soul's not on this list, right?
And the Regenesis Searcher also.
The Regenesis is at 33. Exosister Pax is 0. It doesn't cost 33. Magical Meltdown is not on this list, right? Union Hanger costs 33. Magical Meltdown is 0. Cursed Outland is 0. Yes, I'm going to keep bringing this up, Bohdan. I'm sorry. And
Christian Inclusion is 33.
yeah, Christian Inclusion 33. It's like it
Wishes
seemed
for
to
the Eyes of
be.
Blue is 33.
It seemed
even though
to
that deck's
be.
basically unplayable without a Link one.
Yeah. Yes. It. Social Emerge is 33. It truly seemed to me like when they were writing this list,
I
any
think like the
searchers
only
they could
searcher
think
card that
of.
is more than that is like Rhoda. Rhoda's like 40, I think.
Tenki's also 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Terraforming is 33. And I think Terraforming is 33, yeah. The Hidden City is 33 as well. It's just like and then the Tier Element Field spell is 50, I think, but that's just because every tier card is 50. They made I'm pretty sure to make tier you need like 4,000 points. or like something crazy, right? Like you might need like 4,000 points, just something insane. Maybe like 1,500 or 2,000 points, something like that. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'd like to see some stuff cleaned up as well. Like Ancient Gear Advance and Ancient Gear Statue. I'm pretty sure those both search, and those are 33 for presumably no reason. And yeah, I'd yes, I guess to go back to what you said earlier, as good as this concept is, and as much as I want to support it, I need to see some revisions of this list. And I do think I'm judging it too harshly based on the first revision, because literally the first event where they have this, there will have been 1,000 times as many games played as the entire 2 years of internal testing, right? So maybe this is, in my opinion, when I'm looking at this, I feel like this is like a prototype. And maybe, and I am glad they're waiting until next year to have a main event of this, because I'm pretty certain if we spend 2 weeks making competitive decks for this format of this list currently, it's probably unplayable. Like there is probably more dominant strategies in this than there are in current Yu-Gi-Oh! Like there are probably less actually viable strategies with this current list right now than there are in current constructed when you get down to it.
I think I agree.
Yeah. So I'm going to hope they lighten the point restrictions on quite a few of these cards and open things up. And I wish the more generic cards, I wish archetypes would cost less and generic cards would cost more. That's where I think the decision making should be coming in. And I really, I guess I've said it a couple of times, I really just don't like how so many archetypes are just out of the box unplayable. Like I actually care less about like the Tenpai and Tier Elements and the Kashtiras, where the cards just cost, you just need 4,000 points to make a Tenpai deck or a Tier Element deck, or you need 500 points to make a Kashtira deck. I don't really mind those as much as just the 6 Sams that have like 7 cards cost 10 points for no reason, and the GBs that have like 5 cards cost 20 for no reason. It's like I don't understand. Like the Ninja one is the craziest one. I'm gonna keep saying it, you know. And then similarly, like Ryziel cards cost 20 and the Ninja cards cost 20. Are you telling me X Ryziel is the same power level as whatever Ninja card? Like what is like what?
But yeah, there are a lot of cards like that. Like Effect Veiler and Ghost Mourner are the same number of points when one is literally just better than the other.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of cards that are very similar in point range and not like even close to
which
being on the same level.
I feel like defeats the point of some of the point ranges. I also would like to see more different point values. Like there are only a couple like One Day of Peace randomly is 11 and like Thrust is 13. There are some cards like that, but and then there's like Glow Up Bulb is 21. You know, because I'm sure there's some 80 point card they don't want to comboing with. But
that's something else I would like to bitch about, as like how unplayable synchro strategies are, because even in like modern Yu-Gi-Oh, all the good synchros are banned, and basically all the good synchros are banned in this too. So you just like cannot play a synchro deck like almost at all, I found.
Yeah. And I would like to see more cards. I'd like to see a lot more cards. Just cost like 2, 4, 6. You know, I I think they have a couple point values that they play with, and then there's like, there's infinite cards at 10, infinite cards at 20, infinite cards at 33. I think you can, and then infinite cards at 40, and then 50, and like the sliding scale is 100 points. You can make a lot of cards cost 2, and you can make a lot of cards cost 9 or 11, and just you have a lot of flexibility of how you can limit deck building in this format, and I think at first glance, they're not utilizing it to its fullest because there are just some point values that they're just like, they have them, most of them are very round numbers, and I don't think you need to do that at all. I think you can definitely get away. And then I think it's kind of ironic, where they play with numbers the most are at the absolute top end. Like they have Arise Heart at 97, Magical Scientist at 95, Trabdushan at 94, Talents at 93, Launcher at 88. It's like, this is where 88 and 60 are the same. You can't play it, right? Like that's pretty much the consensus, I think. So I think it's hilarious that there are no cards that cost 2 at all. And then there's like 10 different point ranges between 75 and 100. They have like 81, 85, 87, 88, 90, 91, 93, 94, 95, 97. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like Arise Heart, if Arise Heart was 75, I don't think you can play it because you can't play with any Kashira monsters. Like it's too much. I don't know. We'll yeah, I don't know. Some of it's just so baffling. But I just, every time I'm like, I'm pretty sure we've already mentioned most of these, and then I just keep seeing more. And I'm like, what is it? Like, why is Quackamiru's Sandman 3 points? Like what? Why?
They really
It's
don't
a
want you to
floodgate,
play
man.
Rock
They don't want you to play Rockstone. No, it's not a floodgate. Sandman tributes to negate. It tributes to negate a trap card.
Yeah. It's they don't like those cards. Oh.
Diamond Core is 0 points though. That card doesn't cost any points. Makes you think. That card's a searcher.
It does.
But yeah. I don't know. I guess we spent a lot of time talking about how much we liked the concept, then we just spent 45 minutes talking about how the point values make no sense. Let's talk about some decks. Probably is our
Well,
probably
I hope us talking about that, like, they don't, when it comes to talking about things, they don't gain anything from speaking positive about it. Right?
Yes. No, I understand. I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying, like, I think,
Oh no, I'm
glad
telling people like, wow, so people who are listening, I don't want to be like, wow, they're just so negative for like an hour. Well, yeah, because you can tell them, oh, this is great. That doesn't help anything. What helps is when they can listen and then go back and like take things people are saying to make things better.
Yeah.
That is the point.
The
Not just that we,
baseline,
get it off our chest.
the
right? Because we want this
baseline
to be
format. Yes, the baseline concept and format is great. The execution has some improvements that I think can and should be made. And there are some pretty glaring ones in a lot of cases. Like, I think the creativity of this format is stifled a lot by the really, really, really restrictive point values of some of these cards.
Yeah.
Like, so many cards are so overcosted, you basically just can't play them. And I'm not talking about the 100-point cards. I'm talking about the 50-point cards or the 40-point card.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I think Zeus is like the baseline of like, Zeus in this format is incredible. It is an incredible card. And it costs 20. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you can't even fit 20 for a card that is so incredible. And it's just laughable when Gladiator Beast Proving Ground is more points than Zeus. Laughable.
Yeah.
Like, laughable. If they made Zeus 100, if this list came out and Zeus was 100, I would have said, wow, that makes sense. That card was probably insanely broken. Like, I wouldn't have been like, how did they come to that conclusion? I'd have been like, oh yeah, I'm sure Zeus was insane. Like, the best I can liken this to is, I've talked a little bit about it on the podcast previously, but I cube with some friends pretty frequently, and it's it's a lot of people that don't play current Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, but they've played Yu-Gi-Oh many times in the past, so they know most of the cards. And we add newer cards sometimes, and for the longest time, we did it with no pendulums and no links because we were like, well, it's kind of complicated to like teach them pendulums and links for like this very like for fun format that we've invented ourselves. And uh, a lot of the really, really good high costed cards are the first pick cards from our cube. Like a lot of the card, like Omega is a card that would be first picked in a lot of the piles that it would come out because it's a very, very generic, useful card that was good in a bunch of decks. And lo and behold, it's 100. Zeus is a first pick card in our cube. When Zeus comes out, it is very commonly first picked. And it's just a very, very generic good card. Something, and Bohdan, the reason I keep bringing up Golden Lord haha and Invoked haha is in our cube, Eldritch and Invoked are very, very like they go very quickly because they're very generic engines you can build around a lot. Like sometimes people in our cube will just pick Golden Lord and no other Eldritch cards and no other zombies. And they'll just incidentally put Golden Lord in the graveyard with Shaddoll Fusion or something, or in Invoked, they'll just fuse with it from their hand, and then Golden Lord in a slower format where you can't just play every single card in the game for free, 3,500 can't be destroyed this turn is pretty good. Like, that does a lot. And it's just a very, very good card in these simplified game states. So it's something like that one to me is like, I'm kind of shocked that Eldritch is nowhere to be seen on this, considering the low card, like the low quality of some of these cards that cost 30 and 40 points. It doesn't make sense to me that the Invoked cards and the Eldritch cards are 0. That is like pretty crazy. Also, cards I'm kind of shocked are 0. I'm kind of surprised Trickstar is not on this list anywhere. I think that's a very, like, Light Stage probably goes crazy, right? Like, Light Stage is probably insane in this format. So I'm a little bit surprised that there are no Trickstar cards.
Now when your opponent is summoning canine monsters.
Sure, now I guess that's true. But surely they won't be summoning canine monsters for much longer, right?
I think there's some very direct common misconceptions about this format, which is like everyone is having fun in the deck building process and they're trying to look at old ideas to see if something sticks. However, Yu-Gi-Oh is Yu-Gi-Oh, and the power level is, far exceeded what we had 10 years ago. So I think while it will be cool to look at these old decks and go for tempo-based stuff, like I agree, I think Golden Lord is good in a fair game. Yu-Gi-Oh is like well past that point now.
When your deck costs 0 and you can play 20 hand traps in your deck and your opponent can't, I think that's when these cards are good. When you can, when your hand is Light Stage and 3 hand traps and a trap card, and your opponent's deck doesn't have any of those cards in it, I think that's fine.
But that's the layering in the whole deck building process, right? Where it's like you now are playing a worse deck to facilitate playing hand traps, like, which is fine. Like, it's a worse deck and you might enjoy it. But I'm just saying from the competitive aspect, I think you will see a lot of people just immediate, as soon as there's been 2 events or like Dueling Book Rated gets more defined, you won't see these pet decks exist anymore. Like, I think this format is like gonna need a lot of buffering.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the decks that cost 0 need to be the lower power ones, like Trickstar and stuff like that. When you have Vanquish Soul costing 0, that is a problem.
It makes no sense.
That is a problem. That's what I'm saying. And when you have Vanquish Soul costing 0 and these unplayable decks cost 400, like, why does Gladiator Beast have 4 cards on this list? What are they doing that we don't know about?
To be fair, like, you know why it's the case. Like, it was a rivalry deck, but
just like what is?
I would like to also bring up just a funny thing that I noticed, like, with some very vague testing, like nothing, of actual substance. That we've had this like solid string in the last, I want to say, I'd say maybe like end of 2023. Like the decks that print cards, like they just generate a bunch of bodies. They're obviously like more link centric than anything else. And I don't think people are approaching the format correctly. Like, I've seen people play spiral cards in their deck for no reason. There's no payoff to generating a lot of these spiral cards, right? Like, the entire concept of the spiral deck was to link them away. Like, that the deck didn't become playable until Helix came out, and you were able to just like convert these extra bodies that you would just generate for free into something. And like, a lot of people are just
I don't think playing Resort Agent is that bad in a rank 4 deck. People played that in Zodiac. Like, right. I don't think that's that bad. Just as a level 4 extender.
It wasn't. Bro, it was like Master Plan and some other stuff.
Oh, no. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying, like, no, I think there is merit to like Resort Agent.
Okay. But like, you now have to realize in the deck building process that you are not able to do anything with extra bodies that are just sitting there. Like, yes. when you build a deck, you need to just like
be in a rank 4 deck. Yeah, no, I understand. Yes.
Yeah, no. But I wasn't saying that. I was saying people are still, when I look at all these lists get posted, there's obviously the like, oh, here's my Mystic Mind deck. Oh, the format's still bad. Like, here's my Exodia deck. Go for your life. Like, I hope you take those to the tournaments that, you know, I'm playing at, because those sound awful. But like, the main thing that I've noticed, which is just like, people, I don't think people have, again, as I said, pick and play out of the box. People haven't had to build their deck in God knows how long.
Yeah.
And they need to be aware, like, sometimes your power level, this is also going to play into like the point distribution and how you should be picking certain cards. You don't have to be doing a lot, which is like you're saying, play a fair deck. I'm saying you can be doing the bare minimum, which is basically just what Vanquish Soul had done for, like, you know, since it came out until, you know, you got Holy Sue and the Canine cards. Achieve the bare minimum. You don't have to be doing crazy things that aren't crazy combos. You don't have to be making crazy end boards. Like, there doesn't have to be a direct payoff. And maybe Genesys will come to you a lot quicker, right? Like, you'll have a better experience because you're not building your deck like that, because you're aiming, you know, like they said in the R&D article, oh, like, people that were picking hand traps ended up having a better win rate. Yeah, no shit. Like, half the time your deck is going to do something, like, you're going to be doing 10 things to achieve something one thing can do. And there's like no benefit to layering your board. There's no nothing. Your opponent, because I'm sitting here listening to Ryan talk about Eldritch, and all I can think to myself is like, oh, I probably have like 3 or 4 turns to even do anything unfair if Ryan's playing Eldritch. Like, that's my main takeaway. You can, it's the concept. That's the concept.
I think I'm gonna draw Reincarnation you in my Trickstar deck.
Yeah, all that. Like, bro, if that happens, like, by all means, I'm okay with that. That's what it was designed for.
Yeah, I know. Well, draw only costs 5 points. You know.
So wild.
No, draw 7. Like, but yeah.
Draw 7.
I just want to see.
Draw costs more than Shifter. Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, I think Gamma costing 15 is another one that sort of pops.
Epsilon costs 7.
On a tangent there.
Epsilon costs 7. Side frame Epsilon costs 7 points.
I'm aware. Who knows?
Same as Snatch Steal.
Yep. Which I think is probably about what it should be worth, if not less. So that card doesn't seem that good. But
what
do I know? Well, the entire like reason the steel cards were good before was because you convert them into links like on a whim.
Oh,
now
yeah.
You have to be like, yeah, it's pretty specific, right? Yeah.
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, like, in a format, if you're playing a synchro deck with a lot of tuners, then I can see the steel cards being better. But like, yeah, I agree. Also, Mind Control costs 0, so I don't know why you'd ever play any of the other ones.
That's also pretty true. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Unless you're playing some kind of equipped deck.
Yeah. So yes. Another thing I was thinking of is, like, without an extra monster zone, these cards are probably worse, but I don't think they're unplayable. I think Mech Knight is not the worst thing in the world. I think, like, you go second if you want to, if that's your thing, and just summoning a bunch of Mech Knights, like, that was good for a time, you know? And you didn't link the Mech Knights away
specifically, right? Like, you were able to do stuff on your turn 1.
Well, I mean, the Mech Knights don't do anything turn 1 other than purple. They don't do anything.
They would just generate. Yeah.
I mean,
I know what you mean. I think most people will know what you mean, but like, the benefit does come from just like you being able to play one of them on turn 1. And I think that sort of throws away.
The E-Telly is still legal. The World Legacy one that just summons Mech Knight from your deck. That's just like costs 0 points too.
That's
That
probably
can-
a
That can
bigger selling
summon
point.
that can summon purple, and then you just banish it, search a Mech Knight. Like if they make you go first or whatever, and you set like a Mech Knight deck with like traps, like I don't know, man, Trickstar Mech Knight, like it's probably fine. Like it's probably fine. Like all these things are probably fine because all these things cost 0, and that's so like again, that's probably where my mind is going to erroneously is when I'm looking for engines that cost 0 because I'm looking at all these engines that cost any amount of points, and it seems so far gone and so unplayable that I'm just grasping at any of these engines that do anything that are 0 points, and then your deck can just be the good cards, just like the regular cards you'd put in your deck. And it's like, at that point, the best 0 point decks are still probably just Vanquish Soul and Exosister. So the rest of these don't matter until those are dealt with, but I don't know, man. What other decks have you guys like thought about?
Nothing. I saw Vanquish Soul was legal. That was about it. Like literally, I'm gonna wait until like they say this is the point list for the YCS, and that's when I'll give a shit.
Yeah,
like, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I built Monarch, which apparently other people already thought of, and I just didn't even add Domain of the Monarchs into my deck because it cost so much. It was kind of just like, is 50 points worth this when going first? So when going first is already so good for you because with like all the new cards, you can like rip multiple cards out of your opponent's hand and set up a bunch of stuff on your opponent's turn, and you don't even need Domain like that. So I was just putting stuff like more draw cards into my deck, like Pot of Greed. I actually had Pot of Greed in my deck because that was like 60 points, and I'd rather have 2 Pot of Greeds in my deck, I think. When my deck, because the deck already has like Pantheism and stuff like that. I was drawing so many cards, I just got to see everything, and then the rest of the cards were just kind of like forward breakery removal cards. And I won every game I went first, but whenever I played against one of these other decks that did not want to play hand traps and only comboed, I lost all those games. So that's why I was like, oh, damn, I think you actually just are forced to play hand traps. But yeah, if you're thinking about playing Monarchs, I don't think you should play Domain and just play some of the better cards.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt that way. I felt even in 2016, you should just play extra deck Monarchs because instead of playing Domain, you could just kill them, But yeah,
I also think with like again just the general hive mind opinion of people's first reactions being, oh, we can play Mystic Mine again, oh, we can play Exodia FTK. Like, yeah, like I probably don't want
I
to.
think Exodia is more real than Mystic Mine, but still, yes, I agree. It's not like Mystic Mine is.
I'm gonna respect
points.
them enough. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
So something interesting about this is like side decking. Are there side decks? I know that's an odd question, but side decks are crazy because how many are you going to put cards that cost points in your side deck? That sounds so wild. But maybe you just have to.
I thought about, do I dedicate any point cards to my side
Yeah,
deck?
that seems so crazy. That's going to be an interesting thing to figure out. Is like, do you spend 21 points to side draw? Like, is that a thing? Maybe you need to.
Probably.
If the FTK decks are so crazy, maybe you need to, right? Or you side deck like 2 of them because you don't want to spend 21 points. Now at least people can justify playing some random amount of cards because they'll be like, I only had 3 points to spend on a Forbidden Lance. You're like, sure. like whatever, man. I guess that's fine. I think
also, a lot of people I noticed when people were talking about it at my locals, were like, yeah, I have like 89 points or like 90 points, or let's say it's like 91 points, and I don't know what other card I should pick from the points. And I think sometimes you don't actually need to use all your points. Don't like add cards into your deck just because they're on the points list, to make room for something.
I guess I'll play a Book of Moon. Why? Well, I have 7 points left over. Yeah. All right.
So, one thing I did want to, so one of the big things about this before we call it a day was a lot of people were talking about how, oh, you get to play Maxi again.
No, you
Maxi
don't.
is 50 points.
Maxi's 50 points. You can't put that card in your deck.
makes it basically unplayable.
Yeah,
How
literally,
many
yeah.
points would Max C have to be for it to be included in your deck?
That's that's a good one. Because I also think the answer could be lower, and you just don't play the maximum copies of it.
So I thought about this. I thought if it was 33 points and you got to play 2, you could not play those and have 9 hand traps in your deck. You could
Yeah,
have
because
yes.
well, so Maxi is pretty bad when the when you're spending all your points on Maxi, you can't spend points on breakers or hand traps. So literally, what are you even drawing? What do you even draw? Like, if you're just playing 37 engine cards and 3 Maxis, that's probably not good enough because your cards are probably, most modern Yu-Gi-Oh cards are once per turn. You could draw your entire deck and it might not even matter if you just can't play them because their interaction or their negates are too much. Like, not your entire deck, obviously, but when you draw like 9 cards, like if you have like a 12 card hand and it's just redundant
If I play against
cards.
someone and they activate Max C against me, I'm gonna go, okay, that's 50 points. I am just gonna set up like 10 interactions. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or yes, that too.
I think that's also an interesting thing about it is that you can see what kind of cards in your deck by mentally
Yeah.
counting. Right? We talked about that a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get to
among
figure
ourselves.
out like, do I play around Nibiru based on like point distribution and stuff like that. It's like
Which is
another thing
also
to
where I
consider.
think one of point cards can be cool for that, in air quotes. And I still think the most relevant ones are going to be counting the extra deck spaces, or like, oh, based on that, you've spent like 75 points. I haven't seen X hand trap yet. I wonder if they play Zeus. Like, probably. So they probably can't play this. Yeah, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or you do or don't play around certain extra cards based on their points. Like, I think it's interesting for sure. That is one of the more interesting aspects of it. Definitely. I was thinking that like maybe also the cards you spend your points on being public knowledge might not even be the worst thing ever. Like, when you start the game, you have a little sheet that says what your points are spent on. Like, before the game starts, that you show each other. Like, not open deck list, but like open point list or something. Because that's also, I think, one of the problems with open deck list in other games and other Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments that were not Konami ones that I've played where open deck list has been a thing. It is like the time it takes to process a deck list. Like, it's just too much time. Like, it's a waste of time, in my opinion, to like spend 5 to 10 minutes showing deck lists. If you just show the point where the points are spent, you can digest that in 20 seconds or less, right? Like, you can look at it and you can just go down and see the 6-7 cards they spend their points on, and it's, that's it. So I don't think that's the end of the world, but maybe it doesn't matter, and maybe I think it just gets a little tough to do the point counting thing when, if they do have more cards that are like 3, 4, 2 points. Like, I think a lot of these cards should be like a lot of these cards should be like literally 5 points each, not 20. Then it can be a little bit difficult to keep track of. But
well, I mean, yeah, but most of the time you just get to like pick up their graveyard and be like, all right, point. All
that's
right.
true. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's basically all the things I had written down or thought of. I don't know if Bohdan has anything else that he thought of that was
I
interesting.
mean, like, nah. That in concept was the main thing that stood out to me. Just like, you need to know the point list, and then you're able to play around certain cards. So it's the same thing as like current, where you just have to pick and choose what you're playing around, but a little bit more face up if you have the information. That's like the other part of me that wants, like, okay, it's cool that they can update it more frequently, but with that also comes with, like, if you're doing those changes, you need to sort of just like remove some of the fluff from the list and sort of
Yes.
condense it down.
Yes,
right?
it needs to be
And then that
condensed
makes
because
things a lot easier.
you can't. Yes, like when you're memorizing, like there are so many cards that I'm sure if I was like, this costs points, I bet over half the list, if I told one of you it costs points, you'd you'd go, I didn't know that, or even if it costs 0, you still wouldn't play
There's
the deck.
500 cards on
Yeah,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
Like it definitely needs to be smaller. I think that the crazy part is it's 505 cards. There are like 100 cards I think should be on the list that aren't. And I definitely think like almost half this list can probably just not even be here, to be honest.
It's kinda
Or
like
it can
how
be
we talked-
significantly reduced.
We always talked about like our forbidden list. Like there are just so many cards that don't need to be on there. You could just like
Yeah.
remove them and like remove a lot of this fluff, and like the list doesn't have to be as long and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Where it's kind of like the same with this. Like this, I don't think this had to be 500 cards.
It did,
Like,
it did not. It did not. It absolutely did not. And I think the all bold most cards cost 0. I don't even think matters when there are 500 cards that cost points. Like that's yes. Like there are so many archetype cards that like also if they really don't want an archetype to be playable, you do not. I mean, I guess for this that's a bad example. I almost said the Numeron Gate cards. With these cards, they are 4 cards that have literally identical text. So I guess you do, in this instance, have to make all of them cost points. You can't just make one of them, cost a lot. But it's like, for some of these decks, making like 6 different of the cards cost 10 points. Like, you can just not do it that way. Like, you can just do it a different way. There are many different ways, but yeah. I don't know. It's yeah. Concept, great. Micro execution the first time, a little wanting, but hopefully they will update it as frequently as the articles allege. Thank you all for listening. It's been a while, but I hope that we delivered some interesting takes on this, or at least some things maybe people haven't been talking about these. Anyways, as I mentioned in the beginning, if there are some other topics that we missed in the last couple months that you are dying to get our opinion on, go ahead, put it in the comments. And if you see topics in the comments that you like or would be interested in hearing, go ahead and upvote those. And then it's very possible that we will do some shorter episodes covering those topics. It's also possible that if we can't get all 3 of us together at one time, we might do some smaller episodes, like 45.5, with just me and Bohdan, or just me and Jeff or something, and we'll just, have like shorter episodes of just those topics that we missed in the interim that people are interested in. So if that is something that is interesting to you, then please, by all means, let us know. But thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
See ya.